Well, I'm Beth Nordowney, and as you can see from the picture, Siri is here as well.
I am here.
She is. And we're here this month, and we wanted to talk about a hot topic right now, right? That all of us are in the throes of as preparing for the changes that are coming up with buyer representation. That starts on this is bad that is it the 14th or 17th?
Well, our MLS is changing on the 13th here, but it's the 17th that it's officially active, I think, across the states. Yeah.
So 17th across the states and 14th in Minnesota, 13th in California. So somewhere
Yeah.
around there where the compensation starts disappearing from
Yeah.
MLSs. And it's a really cool perspective today, I think, between Siri and I, because I come from a state in Minnesota where there was a lawsuit in the 90s with Edina Realty, which is a regional company, real estate company here, and 300,000 plaintiffs that sued over the fact that they didn't know what they were paying in compensation. So as of the 90s in Minnesota, we've always had to have some sort of representation contract. And prior to making any offers, we have to disclose to any potential buyers what we're getting paid and how. So
Mm.
our big change this month is it's going from MLS and obviously what everyone else is going to do. But like Siri, you in California, it's different
Hmm.
there, right?
Hmm.
This is a bigger change.
Yeah, for sure. Like here in California, I mean, we've had the buyer broker, buyer rep agreements in place, but it really hasn't been customary. I personally, in 20 plus years, have used it maybe twice. I mean, that's how
Wow. That's
it's
so
just not
insane
a
to
thing,
me. Yeah, because it's just like
right?
ingrained. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's definitely agents that have used it and that's part of
Mm-hmm.
their team and their practice. Just that's my personal experience, and a lot of us don't. And so, when this news broke, I personally was very excited about the changes that are coming out. Obviously, that means that there's navigation, and when you run a team, that means you've got to kind of like make sure that ship is moving with you and understanding what's going on, which is for you probably not as much work, but still work. But for us, this is a big, big change out here for sure. That's great. That's going to be
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's gonna be great, right? So it kind of like the recipe for success today, and again, our platform is speaking, not that a lot of this wouldn't apply to a standalone agent, but we're speaking from the perspective of a team leader and running a team. Although today, going to take a little bit broader stroke in the beginning, to talk about the future of agent compensation and kind of what you should do personally, or even before you kind of talk to your team, to make a plan of how you're going to roll this out if you haven't started already. And then I'm going to talk about what I've done specifically with my team already, starting like we're 2 weeks in now to just preparation and rolling out for the 17th. And then Siri's going to talk about what they're doing at the brand and her team. And then we'll have time for Q&A at the end. So just a brief introduction again. My name is Beth Nordowney. I run a team in Minnesota in the Twin Cities market, and also Rochester, which is about an hour and a half south. So I'm in two different locations. I've been in real estate for 20 plus years. Like I said, this is not as big of a change. We've been doing buyer agency and representation the whole time. And we do whatever, about 500 transactions a year and have about 35 agents. So that's me. Siri?
All right. So my name is Siri. I'm out here in San Diego, California, and I am very similar to Beth in as far as longevity of being in real estate. So 20 plus years and a little shorter in running a team. So for me, it was started in 2018. And so I have perspective on all things. And was a very heavy buyer's agent before I started the team. And so for me, again, these changes are going to be very impactful for people who I'm now more of a listing agent, but these are going to be very impactful for buyers agents out there. And I think it's going to allow us to really have our buyer's agents step up their game and have some skill that we're going to start seeing come out.
Yeah, right.
Mhm.
So, just because of like a lot of times, sometimes we'll spend some extra time when we feel like we have it, just kind of taking a poll and of who's with us today, but just to make sure we have the best use of time and have enough Q&A time at the end. If you are with us today, it'd be awesome if you just had in the chat either the state that you're in, and if you're a team leader, and again, like a small team, which would be less than 5 people, a medium team, which it might be less than 15, a large team less than 25, or maybe mega team over 25. So that would be awesome, just to kind of get an idea if you put that in the chat so we know who we're talking to. And again, if you're solo, super cool too, because like I said, especially this first part is really going to be I've done it for solo agents, this talk a couple times, a few times actually in the last couple weeks. So it's really geared towards anybody. So that's cool. Thanks for sharing. South Carolina, Virginia, awesome.
Hello.
Florida.
California, part of wonderful mega team.
Yeah, awesome. Meeting team, Georgia, Florida, Anaheim, cool. So California, Florida, awesome. California,
All team,
super
California
cool.
7, sweet. Oh, hey, Laura.
So then we're gonna the key topic today, and then we'll save time for Q&A, and then we'll kind of talk about the next session. All right, I'm gonna start off. I'm gonna kick this off as, just like I said, someone who's been having this. But one of the things I think as a team leader, part of what we do is being visionaries for the team. And if you're a solo agent, you're visionary for your business. But I think if you take a moment and just think about a real estate world, like in the future, where, the agent is no longer defined by finding homes, but I really think by like the true value that we bring to the entire process. And so over the years, Siri and I, in 20 plus years, we both have navigated market highs, right? Like market lows, recessions, and a global pandemic. And now this is kind of just another thing. So even for both of us, right? I mean, even the invention of all the data being to the public, right? I mean, you too, you were in that realm of
Mhm.
not having
Yep,
that.
and I had to print out MapQuest just to get around from house to house.
Right,
Yep, long,
right,
long time ago.
exactly. So we definitely, I think that all the changes, I don't know how you feel, Sari, but I feel like of all the changes and shifts that I've seen in 20 plus years, I really do feel like that nothing compares to the profound shift that I think that this one we're going to experience today. Would you agree with that, or what do you feel like?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think that there's definitely a lot of opinions out there, which is valid. This is a big change. And I think that there's people that are going to see this in all different ways and run their business in all different ways. So, again, this is how we see it and how we're navigating it. And hopefully, you guys can take some bits and pieces and chunks and navigate it into your business for yourself and for your team. This is our vision on it. Again,
Yeah.
I personally am fired up for this.
Mhm.
So I really am. I mean, you can be as ready as you can be until it actually happens, and then you're going to have to probably crawl through, okay, what's actually going on. But this is, we're really trying to work on getting as ready as we can be.
Yeah. And I think that, like you said, I'm excited. And I think that the most similar profound shift I can think of is when Zillow, or when house data became available to the consumer, which was in Siri and I's real estate career lifetime. I think this is bigger than that, but this is probably the closest thing I can think about. And I don't think there's a lot of agents anymore. I think that I know everyone understands it's like a big shift, but I think that what I hear agents doing is trying to really solve this by trying to find a place like, where can we put the buyer agency payout, right? And when, like, how can we shift this, and how can we kind of like find a way to do business as usual? And that's super normal as a human being. Like, change is really tough, and it's just we would like things to, it just is a natural defense mechanism that we want it to be the same. But I think that if thinking that that's like the only change, I think that's like a big mistake. And so first of all is just, this is an exciting time. Like Siri said, it's a really cool time to see a big evolution in how real estate is practiced. And I think it's a massive disruptor that we really need. And it's finally, I believe it's finally going to be the one to like Siri mentioned early, elevate our agents and make our industry even better. So our core message today is just kind of like business as usual is not going to work or be viable going forward. And it's like, I think that we have to adapt to the inevitable changes that align like with what the public sentiment is, by clearly defining, you know, what our pricing is and how we have what we have to offer. And so I can think of a couple times that, you know, I just want to tell a couple stories. It's like when the recession started, there were agents that thought they would do business as usual and they didn't make changes. And they started just listing houses and they'd be like, oh my gosh, I have like 80 houses listed. I have 50 houses listed. I've never had that many listed at one time. They would let sellers list for whatever they wanted. They didn't have tough conversations with them about the market and what was happening. And a lot of them, the people that I looked up to at that time that I thought were top producers, a lot of them went bankrupt. Like, and they ended up exiting the real estate. I mean, it was a huge disruptor. There were people who came out on top because they chose to do short sales. I didn't, but there's a lot of people, right, that was a huge part of their success was by adapting to what was happening in the time and came out being like some of the biggest heavy hitters in certain markets. There were some of us, I know Siri and I, like when Zillow came along, there were a lot of older agents that really believed like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe the public has information. This is all like going to go, our jobs are no longer valid. They have everything they need. Why would they come and see us? Because that's what our job was, is we had all the information. And Siri and I were people who adopted the change in Zillow and the data in the hands of the consumer and didn't think that was a problem and came out on top, right? I mean, those are the things that have changed. So I think that one of the things that's important when we're doing things that can have change like this, and humans and all of us people like really like stories. And so today I'm going to give you just a little history lesson so you can kind of chime in. But like, you know,
That's me in the front there holding
I
the
love
sign.
it. That lady, this is back. Okay, I'll talk about this. I love this picture.
I think that's Betty White when she sold real estate.
Right? So I've been in real estate, like Siri too, 20 plus years. I'm a second generation real estate agent. My father would tell me stories about the way they used to practice real estate. And this is, I know it's a long time ago, but it's not like an eternity ago. This is like the late 80s, like early
Hair.
90s. But they would like seriously stage showing so that the buyer would see like really crappy houses, like just doggy houses, and then show them their listing so that they would like buy it. They
So
only
they
work.
used to carry around books. It was the book. So you were the
Yeah.
holder of the book that had the
Well, that was even before the
information.
books. Like in 87 is when buyer representation came. But then it was like there was no MLS. So the MLS was like, gosh, I think the late 90s or 80s was MLS, and then the actual online version was later. So there's no education to the buyers, and buyer representation was a new thing. And the thing I love about this photo is like it was a lot of cocktails and a lot of partying, right? So that lady Betty White's just hanging on. She's like had her morning. Just kidding.
Morning mimosas overload.
Morning mimosas. This is like real estate circa like whatever. And then I feel, and I don't know what you see or you can speak to this, but like when I started working with buyers in the early 2000s, it was all about educating them and helping them understand the process, right? And so we would set up tours, we preview houses, MapQuest, map it all out, right? There's no photos online. And a lot of like, I feel like what we did was research. I mean, we had lots of meetings and lots of running around for like faxes, signatures, etc. There was no interior photos
No
of
DocuSign.
no
Yeah.
DocuSign, no anything. There's books like this that were big, huge textbooks people would read. We even on the, I even had it at the team, or even before the team, I started and I had a buyer book and it's 37 pages long. I still have it and it's all text and people would actually read it because they had like no idea how to do real estate, right? So like, I think it became the era of like education. Okay. And then Zillow. And so Zillow is the one that saw an opportunity, right? They saw all the MLS data and they put it together and became the first tech company that with the consumer in mind and built a brand around it. And at that moment forward, it all became about the home search, right? So when the data became in the public hands, think about reality TV shows, right? What are they about? Home search, fine. You know, HGTV came out with like the three houses. What was it? House Hunters, right? Everyone watched House Hunters. Selling Sunset. I mean, think of a reality TV show centered around real estate, and what are they about? Like the home search, right? And so then all of us have these on our websites where it became about like do a home search on my site, right? And in the beginning it worked. I looked it up and it was crazy. In 2018, our conversion was 41.33%. And that's like 2018. That wasn't that long ago. Isn't that crazy? And today, like if you're killing it in like Zillow, which are supposed to be like one of like the highest quality leads as far as like ready to convert, maybe Opcity is like a close second, or Homes, you're killing it if you're doing 5%. So you just think about that. Like, the top lead gen source is 5%. PPC, right? You're killing it if you're doing 1.5. So I think that, I just want you to think about that, but it brings us to today. And so one of the things, like, to kind of just, part of this is to get your mind right, is like to think about like our current challenge. So today the home search is no longer our main function, right? I mean, yet that's how we rely on it to attract buyers. So for example, a lead comes in, right? And again, how do we start? We start by showing them a home, or somebody says they're interested in potentially buying a home. You say, let's go out and take a look at it, but that still is how it starts. But from there, where it starts to go, and what's been the practice is like at a showing, we offer to set them up on a portal, or we're going to show houses, or we're going to send them a list of home. The language has been, my fee is zero. It's free to work with me. Don't worry, the seller pays. I don't know, Siri, you can speak to like, what, I don't know, maybe there's no language, maybe you didn't in California, maybe you don't even have to see. In Minnesota, we always had to sign a form. But our form said that we could receive compensation paid for by the seller, which would reduce what they owe. So we had to have the form, but we'd say, don't worry, it doesn't cost anything. It's zero. A lot of agents would do that. But you probably just didn't have to do anything. You just showed
No,
houses to offer.
it was customary for us to just, obviously we try to get the agents to do more due diligence before they show up. But even some of these portals, so let's just say Zillow or Redfin, they didn't want us to ask a lot of questions. They wanted to meet at the house, get in front of the consumer, have them get to know you, then ask the questions that you need. And so, I believe that there's some logic, but then we did become door openers, so to speak, right? And
Right.
so we did not, I mean, we do have, again, we have these forms here, but customary for California is to just show up. You don't really know these people whatsoever, and you're showing them a house or a few. And that's been customary here.
Mhm. So I think that like that's all of us are in that boat where just as a question to ask yourself and to ask your team, which is what I did, is how many of your agents are, still rely heavily on the home search to attract buyers. And this is what this is all about, is like, that's great that it all was about the home search. And I hope you understand just from my brief history, like how we kind of ended up here. But moving forward, this is where we have to move beyond this like outdated approach. So Zillow and all those online lead generations have kind of changed the game, and the reality TV shows, and even us as agents on social media, we kind of continue to misrepresent, or we have in the past, like what we truly offer. So what everybody provides, and when you're in it, and like you can see it now in social media, and the sentiment is like, okay, like I do so much more than the home search, right? You see these people pointing to everything they do, and they're trying to kind of justify what it is, but it's really that collaboration with the consumer, the public person, the buyer or the seller, and all the services we provide is really kind of what this is all about. So now is this time to redefine our services, right? And communicate our true value, and have our agents be agents, you yourself, your team be able to do that, and ensure why you would receive full fees if that's the route you're going to go, or the fee that you're going to charge, and the expertise you provide. So buyer representation is not going away. There was a whole world, I told you in the beginning, where there wasn't buyer representation, and that's a bad world. Like that's like why it was came around in 87
It
for
was
a
created for a
reason.
reason. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but what will change is like who the players are. This is like a massive disruptor. So any fair game for anybody out there. And also fair game for like what everybody is going to probably get paid to a degree, right? Because you are going to need to be able to articulate that as an agent to your buyer versus kind of being dictated by the MLS and what was there. So again, just I think a couple things to share that are helpful is like why, like again, these shifts that happen and why, like again, people come out on top of this stuff is I remember teaching a class about doing buyer presentations to Remax I was at the time, a big group of people. And there was an agent who had been around forever and had been super successful. And this is like 6 years ago, 5, 6 years ago. And he kept losing on deals, right? Because he worked the recession and he was so afraid of his buyers overpaying that he wouldn't allow them to like bid what they wanted on the house and make the offer. And they kept losing. And they lost, and his business wasn't the same. He was losing buyers. And you have people who entered into the market in, let's say, circa 2018 or 19, and that's just how it was. I mean, they went in and they learned like, wow, I have to do tens of thousands of dollars over to the list price for my buyer to win. I got to waive inspections, I have to waive appraisals and do all this crazy stuff, but I'm just going to do it. They haven't been through a recession. They don't have those kind of battle wounds. So those people became, the top producing agents. There's, like I said, this is the time where I think that there's a shift in who the players are and like what it looks like. But I'm moving on I'm trying to go back and forth between slides because I think it's like boring. But I think, just to kind of think about is does anyone have anything in a quick that they want to share that is a challenge for them, like as far as in defining your services? Or thinking about this? I think this is where like people are stuck, or what I see with my agents is like they've never had to really, like on the listing side, we do that, right? We have to say, here's who I am, here's who my team is, here's what we're going to do, and then here's what it's going to cost you, right? But this is like the first time on a buyer side that you are having to kind of define your services and speak to like what you're going to get paid and why.
Yes, I'm not having a hard time, but my agents are having a hard time with it, uh, or wrapping their head around it. Like, oh, we have to talk to buyers. They don't typically have money. I'm like, well, you guys have got to, you're paid to solve a problem. How are we going to solve the problem?
I think they go, so to speak on that, I think what I'm hearing, and it's okay, it's valid for your agents to be expressing this, but they go to a place of fear before they go to a place of success. And so I actually appreciate when the agents go there though, because it does open dialogue for us to be able to talk through it. And what I was on with them this morning, as I just said, you guys, there's not going to be a one size fits all, right? We're going to train you on as much things as we can. But to your point, what you just said, you're going to have to be a problem solver here. Like, you're not going to just show up to the house. Let's just say it's a Zillow because we're flex. You show up to the house, you've never met them before. You have the shiny buyers that just want to buy that house on the spot, and you know for a fact that you're going to get paid a commission. That's not going to happen anymore. Like those situations, well, it can happen. Let me rephrase that. It's going to take more skill to be able to navigate through that. And so I just want you to know that I'm hearing the same thing on our end with the agents. And so we have to continue to express to them our enthusiasm and our excitement, and also teach them the skills to have that positive motivation, to get through this. Not all agents are going to make it. I promise you that. Like, not all agents, like Beth was saying, when things changed, when the market crashed, there was a lot of agents that weren't able to survive, that didn't get into the short sales, the foreclosures, that didn't learn the skills, and they didn't make it through it. So we obviously don't want our teams to be that statistic. We want to help them through it.
I think what you said, Sarah, it's really as a team leader from that perspective to recognize is like you said, is that, I mean, they're not going to articulate, I'm scared, but it is scary, right? And even if you
Yeah,
think in
for
your
sure.
head you have it down, to sit down and think about sitting across from someone is scary. And they're thinking, so all of us, a lot of us as salespeople, we want to help people, especially on a team, and we want our buyers to win. And it's tough sometimes a lot of us who got into real estate don't have a business background, right? So sometimes thinking like with your business brain is really tough, into like, well, okay, but what about me? What about the bills I have to pay, the business I'm running, the costs associated with it, my time? Like you can't do it for free, right? So that kind of goes into like qualifying buyers. But so one of the things kind of in this evolution is I'm telling agents is like, you have to put your business brain front and center, right? So number one is like a lot of this right now, what we do with our teams is like, it's belief, right? We have to have like our beliefs in line and our values and kind of like how we're going to move forward. And it has to be right up here, because if it's not right up here, all sorts of stuff is going to come out, right? Today was in a role play session, and it could be stories, justification, workarounds, like all these crazy things. But if we start with like, we do not only show homes. Does everybody believe that, right? On a team as agents, like is that all we do, right? And even if that's what you do because you're on this team, like look at what your coordinators and your team do on your behalf and what we do for the people, right? And I think, a lot of this is the second thing is just understanding the business part of it. Like they have to understand, I know the agents on the team, when they look at it and look at, okay, this is what comes in for commission. Sometimes there has to be a referral fee or some sort of fee paid off the top to however the lead came in. Then I have to pay real, then I have to pay my team, and like, this is what's left. So take what's left and how many hours you're working for these people and think about like, it is not, unless you're doing this for charity, and I've had those conversations, like, are you doing this for a career, or is this something that you want to do as a charitable gift to humanity to help people buy and sell homes for free, right? I mean, it just doesn't work in the cost of living. So what I want to talk about today, so one is like the mindset, right? And understanding the business part as your agents. And the second is like that communication is that fundamental component that it has been a success for like the whole, if you are a good communicator, a great communicator, the more problems you can solve and the more difficult they are, the more you get paid in any like corporate or entrepreneurial position.
Well, and here's the thing, just like what I'm saying too, is just like, so I will say most agents on the team they're usually buyer's agents, have more heavy buyer's agents. I think we can
Mhm.
agree on that. And so they don't have as much skill on the listing side. Listing side, we have to go in and we have to negotiate. We have to negotiate our commission. We have to show our value. We're typically competing. So we're already doing that stuff. So again, the buyer's agents have been used to just showing up, and by default, sometimes they just help the buyer buy the house and the commission's already there for them. And so really it's having them learn those skills that now they need to show up just like we have been doing on the listing side, and making sure that they articulate who they are, what the value is that they bring. And again, there's not going to be a one size fits all for the commission. Just like when I show up to a listing appointment, my commission will vary based on, because I always get that question, so what's your commission? And my answer is, well, it's going to vary based on how we manage your listing. So if I have one where I'm remodeling their house, the commission is going to be a lot higher than when I show up and it's like, hey, I just need you to put this on. It's ready to sell. We're going to be putting it in for, a lower price. I got to get this sold like next week. Like it will vary, and that's my business decision. It may not for you, but that's my business decision that I'm making on how I manage that. So now the agents are going to have to show up and do exactly that, which I think is going to be fantastic. Like I am personally excited, me personally, right? And again, these team members don't have I like what you said, Beth, the battle wounds, right? I have 20 years of battle wounds. So I see this as some really great opportunity for me to now show up in front of buyers and say, here's what I can do for you. And here's my track record. Now, some of your buyer's agents don't have that. Maybe they're newer, right? They don't have that. So you as the leader need to show up and have that confidence and deliver that confidence to them so that they can believe in themselves, that they can earn those skills, that they can learn those skills, that they can show up in front of these buyers with the confidence that they need and have the team stats that they're going to be talking about to back them so that they can manage through this. So that's how I see that they're going to be able to make it through it. Again, I personally am all gung ho at saying I give them a story. Like I just got a 3%, which in California, by the way, 3% is not standard. It's anywhere from 2 to 2.5% that we'd get paid on the buy side. But I personally just got a buyer rep signed for 3% and just got it accepted for 3%. They were offering 2.25 because the change hasn't made yet, but I just did it like it had, and I'm getting paid more.
I love it.
And
I love it. I
those are
agree
the
with everything
successes that I'm sharing.
said.
Yeah.
And I think it's more, like you said, it's just that business brain understanding is variable what your services are. You have to understand your services and then what you charge for them, just like we used to on the sell
Yeah.
side, right? Just like you said on the buy
Yeah.
side.
And confidence.
And
Confidence.
confidence.
And make sure that you are confident so that your agents feel that confidence going into it.
Yeah.
And so
And so I
you
love
are
what
that
Sharon,
person.
I love what Sharon always says too, where he always talks about, show complexity, deliver simplicity. But a lot of times buyers agents, we do things like we say, okay, don't worry. It's all this kind of like, don't worry, I can just take care of the rest, or don't worry, just sign, I can take care of everything, or just call me, night or day. And they want that, like, again, like Siri said, it's just understanding this process. And I've observed, like Siri's one of them. Probably I've never observed Siri, but I'm sure that, where is this? Oh, I took that part out. I did. Okay. So one of the things that we do is like, how, as your agents, like if you have a meeting, right? And you talk about like, hey, what do we do, you guys? Like, what do you think you get paid to do? If we listen to when you talk to potential buyers and you ask them like, what are you really after? Like, how can I help you? You're going to find out like what you're getting paid for, right? If you look at your reviews, if you get reviews, you're going to see why you're getting paid. Like, but as agents, and I think this is what your agents need to understand, is we offer so much more than the home search, right? I mean, this is about research that we do. We may help them find the perfect home. I love that. I may help you find the perfect home. We may be homes that you're not aware of. There's different ways we can find it, right? We can even help people make a decision and ask great questions to help them discover what's most important. When you look at Zillow and that just their data on their website, like what people get paid for, like what they most value according to them, just last year in 2023, what they will pay, where does it say? I've got it pulled up here, trust, responsiveness. So the most important characteristics in a buyer's agent is obviously that they feel trust. Responsiveness is number 2. Number 3 is having neighborhood knowledge, writing an offer, winning an offer. They have a reputation. And if you look at like what the buyers rank for the most valuable agent services, number 1 is help me decide on the details of my offer. And number 2 is organize and submitted paperwork. Like that, this is what they feel is the most helpful. Identified homes to consider, not even anything with a home search. So, I mean, it is down the line, but there's all these other things that we do. So I think one thing is that the agents understand these services. So when we look at this as a team or as a standalone person, what are things that we create value around, right? So we can offer strategy. I don't need to go into strategy. I talked about an offer strategy, how to find the home. Siri mentioned strategy details. Labor, right? She's offering labor. Maybe you have a cleaner, a stager. Again, on a buy side, maybe labor is someone like a home inspector, someone to help that lender. You may have someone else who does like a mold or termite or, certain inspections that aren't customary. We help with technology. We all have tech packages, so we make their life easier with like the tech we provide to the buyer. Content, right? Maybe you have content on guides on how to buy a house or things that they should be aware of. There's collaboration with them to help them I think one of the things like as an agent, you really get paid to do is help people sort through their head because the world is super distracted and help them achieve a goal. And that's a collaborative effort to say like, hey, like, what did you think of that home? If you had to buy one today, what one would you buy? Like, what is your favorite? What would you want to offer? What if you missed it? All those questions help people work through their mind in order to actually achieve it. We support them, right? We talk about that all the time online. You hear people say like agents, like therapy, marriage counselor, but it's a lot of people want support through this. They want someone to walk this path with them that has done it before. And again, like kind of those relationships. So in our world, like all these services that we do with and for our clients, this is like that gap that we, encounter when we do that needs analysis with someone like, hey, what are you looking for? What are you trying to accomplish? And that's something that we definitely can help them do. Okay. So, at this point, I think that I just want to share really quick what we've done on the team to get everybody kind of up and going, and then Siri can talk, and then we'll just kind of open it up for some questions and conversations. So what this has looked like so far, we started, what is it? What are we in? We must have started it in July because we're not 2 weeks in. I think we're on this will be the third week that we've been doing stuff. So the very first thing that we did with the team to get everyone on board at Enclave is we had a forms meeting. We had it live. We made it as mandatory as we can, and we recorded it. And we also have pods, like small groups, and we actually made sure that everybody either attended the live or they watched the recording and that they saw the form updates and the new forms. The broker had a meeting, right? People went to that. We had a meeting to address mindset. And this is kind of what we're doing today, and really define our services and just get the head right. I sought some legal counsel on best practices because, again, just because, like Siri said, there's so many opinions out there and you have to decide what's best for you, but you have to make sure that you're practicing by your association and state guidelines. This is the biggest one. I think that is the most important thing you can do for yourself or for your team is you have to have some sort of standard of practice that you define. And you have to buy in from the leadership if you're running a team and you have other people leading with you. What does standard of practice mean? For me, standard of practice is we sign exclusive buyer representation contracts. We do not do facilitator. We do not do non-exclusive. We have a minimum if you're on the team, it's 2.7% commission on the buy side. If you do not feel like you can get 2.7 or something's going wrong, you need to call a leader or me or somebody to get approval to do less than that. So you have to make it super crystal clear, like this is how we do it, and this is how we're united, and this is kind of our standard of how we operate. We're going to send a text message, and then we're going to send a video, and then we're going to send the forms, but it's super clear because it can't be like, oh, you could do this, you could do that, you could do that. It's just going to be confusing to the public and it's confusing to the team. Then what we did is once we had that kind of standard of practice of this is how we're going to do it, this is our second week, and we're going to do 3 weeks of role playing multiple times where they can pop in and role play it and practice it. And then we're sharing our videos and we're getting feedback and we're using Slack. We have a meeting on Monday with an attorney for best practices, and just to think about this shift from the standpoint of the actual lawsuit and what's really important here. So they hear from somebody from me. And then again, it just this whole last 2 weeks, it's been really constant communication on the daily and just keeping everybody like on track and what to do every day and how we're going to navigate this. So that's kind of big picture. I have some examples pulled I can show of what we've done. So now, how are you preparing at the brand? Gary?
What are we doing? All right. Okay. So there, I'll go over these and then I'll add a little bit more here too. So, because we're doing some similar things. But so what we do is we have a Monday training that George and I actually run. So we've started to navigate those Monday trainings around the forms. And so each Monday we'll grab a particular form or a topic. So like one time it was open house or whatever, it is that we need to kind of go deeper into. And so Mondays we've spent some time with the agents over the last probably month or so doing these form trainings. And then we've been sharing in our Slack the videos and the trainings from our broker at Real. Tomorrow is our normal is when we have our Thursday team meeting, we're actually just going to be dissecting that broker training that just Jason Lopez did. And we're going to be just spending time doing that. So we're not going to be doing our like, normal kind of frilly, like, who's the winner of the week and all those kind of things. We're just going to go really deep because I put on Slack this morning, we're in the final countdown. And so this is really where we need to start just hammering this every single day and making sure that they're as prepared as they can as we get closer to this. We're updating our templates in ZipForms. So we use ZipForms and we have team templates, and we're going to be working on making sure that those are updated for the agents. We are training our listing and transaction coordinator team. So from an operational side, we're making sure that our operations have the training. So they also need to know, not just the agents, your operational teams, if you have them, need to be trained, involved, and educated. So we're going through those trainings. We've been doing that for probably the last at least month or so. And we'll be doing that all the way to the end because some of these changes, we were waiting for forms to come out. We have open discussions on Slack. And then a couple other things, Beth, you were saying the attorney. So we did actually have our attorney come on, and our attorney did a forms training. I mean, it's repetitive, right? But the thing is most people, it takes them on average 7 times to absorb new information. 7 times, that's the study out there. So that's for all of us, right? And so your agents need to be able to understand this over and over and over. For me personally, I have watched these videos now over and over and over myself because I need to understand what's going on. I need to read each form, each line of that form. You as the team leader should be very aware of what these forms say and how they say it, and be really knowledgeable in all of those things. The other thing is that we did is at our last team meeting, we provided copies of these forms because I also believe that as much as people get on Zooms and they see and they hear and they see Slack and all that stuff, there's people that need to tangibly feel it, and we provided copies of some of these forms. Also, NAR came out with some really great, I don't know if you guys are aware, but some really great one-pagers that are for the agents and also for buyers and for sellers. And so I'm going to drop those in the chat, but we provided those to the agents, and, really just making sure that they understand that they need to be starting to educate these consumers on what's going on out there. Because I feel like we're going to have a hot minute where the consumers are going to go, no, I'm not signing anything. I've never had to sign anything, at least here in California. And then they're going to go to the next agent that says you still have to sign something. And then maybe by the 3rd time they'll go, oh, I have to sign something. So anyways, that's what we're doing. I mean, we started probably a couple months ago, but we're really hitting it hard this last month, and then we're really elevating it hard this next week and a half. It's going to be pretty much what our language single day with our team every single day. If you guys haven't started doing anything, make sure you hit it really hard this next week and a half with your team.
And like you said, Siri, I know if you're leading a team, like you have a responsibility, right? You have a responsibility to your brand, to the agents, to the consumers that want to work with your team. And doing, like, Siri and I are, obviously you can tell, doing a lot, and it's a daily thing, and it's surprising, and it just has to be a safe space. It has to be a safe space that people can be vulnerable and can practice and can be open and honest about how they feel about this. And it's crazy because, like Siri said, you can give everyone the forms, and we have these role play sessions every day. About 2 or 3 agents pop on because now it's real. They're going to have to do it, or they have an appointment, or it's getting closer. And when they actually practice it and they say they think they have it, and they're like, I think I have it in my brain. We're like, okay, well, this is a safe space. Let's just practice it. Like, tell us like what you're going to say, or tell me what you're going to say. And then what comes out is like a hot mess. And that's normal. That's no different than if it's Siri or I. Like, you think you've got it in your head, and then you start saying it and you're like, okay, that didn't go right? But those repetitions are super important, and to have that like kind of one-on-one time too is really important. Okay. I don't have anything, and we can just kind of open it up for some discussion, and then we'll kind of give you like some 5 steps just to kind of start with, but you can kind of see there's a lot more to that. But what can we help talk about or answer or troubleshoot workshop, which you guys are thinking?
I love collaborating. I will say most of our we have little huddles and trainings and stuff have been on fire lately because this has just been
Isn't
such
it
a hot
great?
topic. Oh, I love it. I'm like, oh
I love
man,
it
that was
too.
solid. Yeah. So what do
Everyone's
you
like
guys
showing
got?
up to everything.
Oh
Everyone's like,
yeah.
I'm like, oh man, if it could run like this all
So
the
many
time, this would be
ideas.
awesome, right?
So many ideas. I'm loving learning strategy, and I'm loving hearing the agents come up with strategy. I'm loving the questions. I'm loving hearing them think of things that I'm not thinking of, and then I'm loving hearing the other agents help the other agents through it. I'll sometimes, even though I may have my answer, not the answer, my answer, I'll say, I don't know, agents, what do you guys think? How would you handle that? And I love hearing what they're coming up with and helping each other. So what do you guys got? What's going on? Note takers, what's going on, note takers?
Yeah, note takers. They have to have some sort of summary or some sort of next steps or something that we should do.
So I have a question.
Yep.
Hey.
I was talking to my team members about this. I've done one of these things. I'm in Florida. So when I work with a lot of out-of-state buyers, I have been taking a non-refundable retainer that
Mhm.
would be credited obviously at closing if they do purchase from me. So
Mhm.
on the Florida contract, we have a paragraph 6, which is a line for the retainer, non-refundable retainer. And then we have another line, this is paragraph 9 in Florida, about a cancellation fee. So I think in these uncertain times, those are very important. I know I'll be filling in both those blanks, and I wondered how you are addressing this with your newer agents, that might not have even, put any value in those lines. That's my question.
So interesting in here, we don't have those specific lines. I mean, we could add options like that, but in California, that's actually not on our forms. So that's
Wow.
interesting to hear that option.
We've had
Yeah.
retainer fees in Minnesota, and they haven't been practiced or used for a lot of years. We had the retainer fee ended up on our forms during the recession, because when I gave the example of people going bankrupt, it's because they were listing all these houses, right? And then people would cancel, and so they started having a retainer fee. I think that the question to you is like, if you're leading a team, like I said, is you need to define the standard of practice, right? So what was easiest for me is like commissions negotiable, giving the agents the freedom to understand, like, I want to listen to your reason. I'm going to learn too, because no one has this figured out yet. But if you're saying, okay, one of the things I want is like when we start working with someone, we're charging a $500 retainer fee, right? Whatever your standard practice is, it will be paid for at closing, and it would be added or credited as a credit to like any commission that you owe. The cancellation, the fee to cancel is X, right? And it has to be that clear. And then I would say, if you feel like you need to vary from this, then you need to call me for approval and let's talk through what's going on. And then you can make the decision, but you can actually hear what the public is saying and any objections to signing it. I think that the retainer fee, again, I mean, what I'm seeing on the team in this iteration of change is like, I have to be like a non-negotiable, like this is how we do it. This is the expectation, right? We charge retainer fees. If you don't, I want to know why, because if you don't make it that, they're going to choose not to, because it's easier. And I have to be able to explain retainer fees, and I have to be able to like know how they work, and I have to be able to fill out the form, and I got to collect the check. I mean, you just create all these extra steps. So you have to make it like easy for them. Like they're going to sign this, they're going to use trust funds or however they pay the retainer, right? And then it's like, just, it has to be super simple in the process established. Does that seem like makes sense? Is that what you're asking?
No, yeah, my team leader, we addressed this, and definitely, of course, the retainer is going to be paid upfront, so it's not going to
Yep.
anything that happens at closing. So my question to her is, well, how to go about with the accounting? And she said the same way you would with closing funds. You'll have to send that buyer, if they do agree to work with you, the wire instructions, and or another way that you're going to receive the money and then put it into reason.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's
Beth,
right.
you have on your team a minimum? Do you have a minimum commission?
Yeah, so we have a
Or do
minimum. I did a minimum
Yeah.
because if you're on a team and you're running a business, oh my gosh, you guys, you cannot run your business if you don't have a minimum, like, and someone goes out and starts accepting 2%, 1%, 0.5%, whatever craziness they come up with, like it'll tank you, right? You have counted and done your business budget and math and finances based on what you're used to collecting pre this change. And so I think it doesn't mean that there can't be a reason. I'm just like Siri, like everything is negotiable. Like if someone said to me, well, we're going to buy a house today and we're going to buy this first house we're going to see, great, maybe we would do it for less, right? I mean, I don't know, like, but let's talk about it if it's less than that and
That's
why.
very interesting because my team has not discussed that at all. And there was a discussion that was sort of similar, and there were two schools of thought. Some agents were on the side of, no, you decide it's going to be 2% minimum. The other agents were, well, I'll do it for less because I have a long-term strategy. Those were the two camps. But my
Yeah.
team hasn't put anything in writing about it yet.
I think a lot
So,
of
and
people
I'll
don't
tell
have a
you,
standard.
we we don't have anything in writing. It is in discussion though with the team. So
Yeah.
it has been discussed, and we're going to keep an eye on how this goes. Obviously, here in California and our price points here in San Diego, they're high, and so we're keeping an eye on what that looks like for us to maybe implement that. But we're not going to make that call until we get moving on this a little bit more. That's how we're running ours. Again, there's no, right or wrong way,
There's going to be
but you
different
can see
ways.
between
Yep.
Beth and I, it's different, right? Yeah. Laura, I'm going to call you. What are you and Nick up to over there? What's going on? How are you guys
Hi
training?
there.
Hi.
Well, a lot of the training has been obviously a lot of communication, role plays. We're doing role plays every Wednesdays and Fridays, and then full team meetings on Monday. So we've been very heavy on role playing, having those conversations, forms. I'm actually, highlighting and still working through them, just doing that. The thing that we are experiencing right now is that agents, and you guys mentioned this at the beginning, and agents that came in 2018 and 2019, where it was just low-hanging fruits and just they could sell any homes. And the sell process was like, hey, I don't get paid by you, I get paid by the seller. My services are absolutely free. Those are the agents that are struggling right now with these changes on how to have this conversation. It's the newer agents, the newly licensed ones they don't know what happened in the past. They don't know anything about it.
Yeah,
And they're just
it's
out
solid.
there killing it or getting deals and doing transactions. So that's what we're seeing. We're trying to let our agents that have been in the business for 4 or 5+ years, letting them know, yes, we totally understand that's how it works. But this is the real work that you have to do now. This is what it comes. So it's a lot of that. It's a lot of just having role plays and having to communicate to your buyers your value and why you get paid what you get paid. I don't think that was ever discussed before. So now having to talk about it more, it's better all around. So that's what we're working on.
Yeah, that's a good point. I feel like, some of those agents that, they have the capacity and they've got the sales skills, but maybe they're just a little stuck in what once was. It might just take a few times for them to touch that hot stove to then quickly realize after the change that, oh, okay, maybe I do need to change, or maybe I need to understand this. So again, that's kind of where I think once this change happens, I keep saying, like, is it here yet? Is it here yet? Like, can we just get this going? Can we just get this going? Because I want it to happen. I want it to get going because I think that's where we're going to see, all the changes happening. And so I'm excited to have them touch the stove and realize real quick that they're going to need to evolve quickly to sustain their role in real estate.
It's going to take a couple getting burned and stumbling, but that's how you improve. That's how you get better. So we encourage that. Be like, hey, we get it. You're going to have conversations that are going to go sideways. They're going to be like, no, I don't want to work with you. I don't understand you. those same buyers are going to have those same talks with other agents, and they might come back to you, they might not, but it's okay to fail now as long as you continue practicing, and then you're comfortable in having those conversations.
Right, and
Yeah.
all those things, just asking, I'm asking the team just to come back and share with everybody somehow, right? In a chat, in Slack, so that we can all learn, like, what are the objections that we're hearing, and then we can all overcome them faster. That's the benefit of a team. I think just a good place for everyone to start, and I did this with the agents, these kind of 5 steps is, if you think about it as a team leader, is like map out, right? If you've never done this, like map out the buyer or the seller journey and just kind of think about, how do we handle those pivotal moments and how do we add delight? And some of that is like it helps you just see kind of your value, and even as a buyer, like what they do, because they haven't probably ever thought about it. It's like unconscious competence. They're like out just doing it, right? They're opening doors and they haven't sat down and thought about like, oh, wait, yeah, you're right. They do an inspection, and then I call them, and then I make sure everything's okay. And when they do that, I like to, I show houses, I buy them a cup of coffee or whatever it is. And then kind of those expectations is like, everyone has to understand, like, what do you do as an agent, right? And what do we do as a team? And what does the client do? What's the expectation of the client? And I think that helps you then define your products and services. Like I said, I showed that screenshot, but just everyone needs to understand and articulate. It's going to be different, right? Someone who's been doing this 20 years, or like a Siri and I, have very different experience and maybe the way that we handle things than someone who's in year 1. That doesn't mean one is better or worse. They could be helping different people, but how do they articulate what they do? Because a lot of young people, right, or you new people that are like, oh, I'm always available and you always get me and I can, help you and do whatever. I mean, whatever that is, you need to decide, like each agent, like Siri, if you want to take Siri's route, Siri's people, like they need to decide, like, what's your fee? What are you willing to take? What are you willing to work for? Or as a team, you need to decide kind of the fees for the things that you do. And then again, the 5th thing that you need to do then, and it sounds like a lot of you are starting, is just kind of like how you're going to roll these changes out to the team. Another thing, just to make it simple, is like starting with, we're still on the buy side. We have one more week next week. So that'll be like 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. And like Siri said, 7 times of just buyer, 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 because that's like what the majority of the agents are doing. And that's what's happening on the 17th. And then we're switching to the listing, right? Because there's changes.
That's us
in the
too.
listing side
Yeah,
too.
they want to hear it, but I'm like, we will get there. Totally.
That's what I keep saying.
Totally.
Just, we need to stay the course and make sure we're crystal clear on the buy side, right? Now we'll
Yeah.
switch, but like, that's exactly right. So
one more quick thing, because I know we have a couple minutes, and this is because I'm a big marketing brain here, like visual marketing. I also wanted to just share with you guys, another thing you might want to consider if you haven't is High Note. So make sure your agents have, and Liv, you're going to smile at this because I haven't gone in here and totally tidied this up, but Liv did a great job. But so we have templates where the agents can then create. So when on the listing side, I have a High Note that I send to my clients. I'm like, hey, everything's going to be in there. And our listing one is really robust. At some point, I'll do a training on our listing side, but it has videos. It has, hey, you can see the renovations I've done, the remodels, the staging, all this stuff. But we'll have a High Note for our agents to be able to duplicate, and then have them shoot out a quick text so that they can actually, instead of telling their value, they can show their value. We also have folders in the office that are pre-made for them, really nice folders with buyer guides. We have that material that they can just pick up at any time, and they can make sure that they're showing up well prepared. I'm sure a lot of you teams have this, but you're going to have to elevate your marketing for your team and make sure that they have material to show up to look professional, on top of having, the comps and having the MLS sheets, and all that stuff is going to be that much more important. Because I will tell you, as a buyer's agent over time, I would just start showing up and just, kind of wow them that way. And you're going to have more, because people are going to start elevating their game. That's what's going to start happening. So as a team, provide that to your team, to provide those marketing values for them. So.
Your marketing's so badass.
Which we're going to go over, but Liv is she's having a baby, and so when she gets back, we're going to go over some more of our marketing tools.
Oh, that's so awesome. Well,
Can everybody wish Liv, by the way, everybody wish Liv, there's with the hearts. Like you won't see her for a few months, probably till the next of the year. Yes, heart Liv. She's having a baby boy next month.
baby.
So,
Aw.
oh, all
Our
right.
contact info is here. You can find us on Workplace. Our, yeah, and our next session will be in September 4th. So is it noon or whatever with the first Wednesday of the month, right?
Yep.
But in the
Every
meantime, reach out if we
Wednesday.
can help support you or have questions or anything we can do.
All right. Thanks everybody for joining. That was awesome. Let us know if you need anything.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. I can never figure out how to get out of these.